Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Daincast. This time we have another game from a good friend of ours, TLM, also known as Terran Lives Matter, also known as Foul Grin. He is playing the blue Terran in the top left-hand corner of Nightshade LE, and his opponent in the bottom right-hand corner, also playing Terran, he is the infamous DonaldPump. This is around a 3K rated game, although looking at their MMRs on SC2 replay stats, TLM is at around 3K MMR, and his opponent is apparently unranked at negative 16,000 MMR, so I'm not sure what he did to Blizzard to deserve that rather harsh sentence, but I imagine that since that's just a glitch, and since he's playing against TLM, he's probably roughly around the same rating as well. He's probably roughly around a 3K rated Terran as well. So TLM is going to be building his barracks before his gases, and he's going to scout fairly early on, and his scout is going to probably shake hands with, not quite shaking hands with, just passing each other, social distancing and all that. They don't want to be getting too close to each other lest they spread that coronavirus. So DonaldPump is going to be able to get into TLM's base and scout exactly what's going on, but looks like as soon as he gets there, he's just going to be a little bit scared and walk away. So he just confirms, yep, this is a ramp. Did he even see a building? Yep, he's got buildings. I better leave now. And so TLM is going for double gases, making up for the fact that his gas was maybe a little bit late. Going 2 gases as quickly as he can now. And Donald on his own is going for a single gas a little bit late, so definitely not getting a great position, but he's still able to start his factory fairly early on. Not able to start a Reaper along with it, so don't really love the build from either of these players, but TLM going for the double gas is going to put him in a position potentially to be on an aggressive footing in this game, while Donald might be on a little bit more defensive. But as I say that, TLM is going for his expansion earlier than Donald is. So this is why it's hard to make sense of these builds, because you never really know. 1 gas from Donald, going for a factory. 2 gases from TLM, going for an expansion. Nothing makes sense in this place. This is the upside down world where the rules don't apply. I mean, Donald, sure. Why would you take your natural expansion when you could build in the bottom right of the map or the middle top of the map? I mean, this is a safe place for an expansion. What if it doesn't get scouted? I mean, it'll probably pay off at some point. You can trick your opponent into thinking you're doing a 1 base all in, and then maybe he will defend while you get your economy up. I don't know. The logic doesn't seem to make sense to me, but I'm sure it makes sense to DonaldPump. So Pump himself is going for a single Marine, no add-on on his on his barracks here, just making a tech lab on his factory, and now adding a second barracks as well. So he's going to be on a composition that includes probably tanks and Marines. I don't exactly know what to say. There's a reactor on the barracks for TLM, so he's going to be able to make Marines 2 at a time, and he's got a tech lab on his factory, so he's going to be also going for a roughly Marine tank composition. Neither player too fussed about getting their build up. I mean, I was going to say not getting his starport up, but look at Donald's going for a starport again. So now Donald's on his starport as well. TLM opting to stay on Marine tank a little bit longer. TLM getting his natural expansion finished a little bit faster and getting his orbital command started. So just as it's finishing, Donald is starting his. So a little bit of an economic advantage going to TLM at this stage. A little bit of a tech advantage, going for DonaldPump at this stage. So it's anyone's guess as to what they're actually going to do with these advantages and how their armies are going to interact with one another, because nothing that these players have done so far makes any sense to me. I am a blind person leading the blind. It's anyone's guess as to what's going to happen next. Donald finally gets his orbital as well and lands his mules at his proxy base, and he's sieging up tanks in his main base to make sure that he doesn't die to drops. He does get a starport with a tech lab on it, so he could go for Banshees, or he could do nothing with it. Those are both valuable options that could happen in this game. They're both equally likely at this stage. I really have no idea what's going to happen. Looks like he's going to opt for the nothing option, at least for the time being. TLM opting to get a Cyclone, so at least something resembling a normal build here. He's going to get a Cyclone to defend against the air harassment, and then he's going to get a tank to protect his natural expansion. Still nothing being made for DonaldPump. Still just nothing. No add-ons on his barracks. Just going to make naked Marines. Still not making anything out of his factory. These are the kinds of things you see when you're negative 16,000 MMR. You know, you just don't know how to play the game. You're trying your best, and we got to give him credit for it. But as he's the president of the United States, I think he's got a lot on his plate. He doesn't have a lot of time to practice StarCraft, so we're not going to hold it against him too much. I have to say, though, TLM has got a fair amount of Marines here. He's even gone for the double Cyclone. Looks like he's not actually worried about defending anything with these Cyclones. Instead, he's going to be attacking with the Cyclones. Maybe he can get a lock on this proxy base and kill it. Who knows? But he is going to have a superior army here. It looks like he's on 29 army supply to the 20 of DonaldPump, because I think DonaldPump's actually been AFK here. Is making a battlecruiser, and suddenly all the pieces are starting to make sense. He's gone for this very early tech lab on the start board, and the reason he wasn't building anything is because he was saving up his allowance. But this scan from TLM is going to see the starport, or it's not going to see the starport, but it is going to see the fusion core, and it's not exactly rocket surgery to figure out what the fusion core is for. It's one of those buildings that doesn't have a lot of play as to what you're doing with it. Maybe siege liberators, maybe long-range liberators, but probably battlecruisers, given that this is not a pro game. We're probably not going to see range liberators. That range is probably not even an upgrade that these players know about, let alone use often. So I think the battlecruiser is going to be packing a lot more punch. TLM does have a turret in his main base, but it's going to go down before it even gets a repair here. So quite a few SCVs are probably going to go down here before his army responds to it. But with the 3 Cyclones and a Viking, I think this is pretty much going to be lights out here. 1 Cyclone does go down here. Not a lot of kiting happening for TLM, and the Marines getting stuck behind everything. But in the end, the battlecruiser goes down, so that's going to be more resources lost here for TLM than his opponent. Actually, yeah, only barely, but considering that he's shut down that play, that battlecruiser play, I think he's not going to be too upset at that at all, especially now that he knows that that's coming. He should be able to put a stop to that. He still has a worker advantage at 41 workers to the 35 of his opponent, and his opponent is now going for 1, 2, 3 starports at his proxy location off of 2 bases. He's probably going to add, okay, he's going to take his natural now, putting him up to 3 bases, but kids, you can't afford 1, 2, 3, 4 starports worth of battlecruisers. You can't. You've got, how much do battlecruisers cost? They cost like 400, 300. You can't afford 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,600 minerals and 900 gas at a time. You just can't. It's not going to happen. So, take one of these out. But you know what? The one thing I will say is this is going to let him spend his money. It's going to let Donald spend his money, and this could be dangerous for him. Now, TLM is moving out. He's had enough of this game. He's had enough of the shenanigans. He's going to move out with his army. He's got Marines, he's got Cyclones, he's got tanks. He's even got Vikings. If he decides to engage the battlecruiser, he will be able to kite that battlecruiser. Little scan from him is going to see that there's no 3rd base. He doesn't know about the proxy just yet, so he's going to try and attack into the natural here. So he knows it's a good time for him to attack. He's got a pretty scary army. He's defeated a battlecruiser, and he's taking a 3rd of his own. So he's actually going to have, again, the economic advantage. Even though his opponent went for this proxy, this is why this proxy is pointless, because it was a proxy. At the time, you'd get your normal base. So it doesn't put him ahead, it puts him on par. And since TLM is having reasonable expansion timings, he's still going to maintain the economic lead, despite the fact that his opponent is getting away with the sneaky proxy base. Now, I eat my words because all of these buildings are building battlecruisers. Save one. And he's not floating. Well, a little bit, but he's not really floating. So actually, he's able to spend his money. But there's going to be significant gaps in the production here because he just can't afford this much off of 1 base. Lock on the battlecruiser does manage to do a decent amount of damage, and quite a few units are going down, but the battlecruiser stays alive. The Vikings are picking away at it, but now that these tanks are joining the battle, this might be an absolute slaughter for TLM. I can't look away. Somebody hold me while this happens. There's so many Cyclones. Now the tanks of TLM are sieging up, and actually, the tanks are going down for Donald. He's got nothing left except 2 battlecruisers that are warping in now, and this might be enough to save him. Not too sure. It depends on the micro from these Vikings and the Cyclone. The Cyclone, again, might be able to lock on these and kite them away to get damage for free, but it really depends on the micro, so TLM needs to pull these away, but the battlecruisers luckily are focusing on the wrong units, but both the battlecruisers do survive, and now the tanks are going to get cleaned up as well, so not a great situation for TLM to be in. It might have been doable with exceptional micro, but it was too difficult. Given the high pressure situation that these warping in battlecruisers put you under, it's very difficult. And now we can see there's more battlecruisers being added for DonaldPump. He's going to be damned if he does not spend this money, and he's going to make sure that he has more than enough production facilities. Let's see what the production facility situation is like for TLM. Looks like himself, he's going up to 2 factories. He's getting 2 starports, and actually 3 factories and 2 starports and 2 barracks. So he's going to be on a very great variety composition. He's got one of everything. He's going to go for Cyclones off of one of his factories. He's going to go for Vikings off of one of his starports, maybe medevacs from another starport, and Marines from his barracks. So really nice mix. And as Artosis says, you can't beat me if I make one of everything. There's just too much. You just can't make any. There's no unit that's good against everything. But if there was one unit, it would probably be the battlecruiser. With Yamato cannons and upgrades, maybe. But I don't really see any upgrades at this stage from Donald. I love these 4 missile turrets in this corner. This zone is completely safe, guys. If he drops over here, no. But right here, this is safe. I guess he has the tank. This is like 1,000,000 IQ. Super safe from drops from here. Not really safe here, but he's got a tank. So, you know, maybe that makes you safe. But it doesn't matter because TLM is not looking to drop. He's focusing on these frontal pushes, which I really like. I like that TLM is focusing on the pushes rather than the drops, because at this MMR, the multitasking is probably not there to keep up your macro along with the drops. So TLM is focusing on spending his money, making lots of workers, and he's done that really well. He's up to 71 workers, which is a very reasonable amount at this stage in the game. Might be as many workers as you want to make, to be honest. It's on the lower end of that, but it's nearly maxed out. And he's continually producing his money. He's down to 390 minerals. So actually really nice macro so far from TLM. He's going to do a nice frontal attack here. A planetary fortress being erected for DonaldPump. Looks like he's going to build a wall. I don't know whether or not TLM is going to pay for it, but it looks like regardless, it's going to be torn down. And TLM is going to be sieging up the natural of DonaldPump. So with these Cyclones kiting away on these battlecruisers, this might actually be pretty good, but it looks like the Yamato cannons are going to be good. There's so many Marines, though, that actually the Marines might be the overwhelming factor here to completely clean up these. A nice little Cyclone lock-on manages to get a kill as well. 2 more battlecruisers do join, but such a great trade for Tim at this point, or for TLM at this point, because so many battlecruisers, so expensive being traded for just Marines and Vikings, and now the Vikings being added to this fight. There's only 2 battlecruisers left with a Cyclone and 3 Vikings for TLM, and the Yamato cannons have been used up, so now there's only 3 Vikings against a single battlecruiser, and 2 more Cyclones being added to the composition, so TLM really overwhelming him with units that are actually pretty decent against these battlecruisers, shuts them down without much of a hassle at all, and he taps out, giving TLM the victory.